Am I wrong for stealing my sister's baby? My 29 female, little sister, 21 female Jane, has a 14-month-old baby girl, Sarah, whom I've had custody of since late June of 2020. Jane was divorcing her husband, jobless and homeless. I offered to take temporary guardianship of Sarah so she would be safe and cared for while Jane got her life together. At first, she turned me down. However, after Sarah was dropped off to our mom's house in dirty clothes and an old diaper by a stranger while she was supposed to be under the care of her father, Jane agreed to give her to me and my wife. Now, we made it clear that it would be temporary and that Jane would still have full access and could get Sarah back whenever she felt ready. However, during the last 6 months, Jane has completely disappeared from Sarah's life. She doesn't ask about her, doesn't make any effort to visit her. She doesn't ask us to bring her to visit. She has gotten a job and a place to stay, unsafe in my opinion, yet haven't offered to take any financial responsibility, not even in the form of buying her gifts. She doesn't call to talk to her or see her. I spoke to Jane recently about all of this, and her defense is that it's too emotionally hurtful to see Sarah because of how much it hurts and how much she misses her. Her other excuse is that she doesn't have a car or enough money to buy Ubers or diapers. I told her about how ridiculous all that is. You don't need a car or money to call or text. We have always made clear we'd be willing to bring Sarah to her, and she spends a wasteful amount of money on food and vapes. Even after speaking to her about the things she should or could be doing, she still has made no changes. Because of this, my wife and I have decided to look into our legal options for adoption. Sarah has legally been abandoned, and we only need to keep her a little longer before the court would allow termination of Jane and her husband's rights. Her husband is even more MIA than Jane is. Jane is livid about this and is threatening all kinds of things, but has done nothing. Important information. After I offered originally and before we actually got physical custody of Sarah, my wife and I attempted IVF and failed. We hadn't told anyone about this, even family. However, I told Jane about this on day one just so that there would be full honesty and so that none of this would seem sneaky if it were to come out later. Jane is bringing this up in a very hurtful way during all this, saying that I'm trying to steal her baby since we can't have one on our own. We have one adopted son already. This is very far from the truth. We are genuinely worried about the safety and well-being of Sarah if she were to go back to Jane. And the fact that Jane has essentially ghosted her baby, we feel we have every right to pursue permanent guardianship and adoption. So, am I the asshole? Am I wrong for not allowing my ex to attend our child's birthday party? I, 34 female, and my ex-husband, 36 male, divorced 2 years ago due to irreconcilable differences. We share custody of our 7-year-old daughter, Lily, and have managed to maintain a relatively civil co-parenting relationship. However, things recently took a turn for the worse. Last week, Lily turned 8, and I decided to throw her a birthday party at our home. I planned the event meticulously, inviting Lily's friends, our family members, and a few close neighbors. I wanted it to be a special day for her. However, when I sent out the invitations to my ex-husband, I specifically mentioned that he would not be able to bring his girlfriend. Now, my reasoning behind this decision is that my ex-husband has been dating someone new for the past 6 months, and Lily hasn't had much interaction with her. I didn't think it was appropriate to have a stranger present at her birthday party, especially since my ex-husband and I agreed to introduce new partners to Lily gradually. My ex-husband, upon receiving the invitation, immediately called me, furious and demanding an explanation. He accused me of trying to exclude him from Lily's life and claimed that he had every right to be there for her special day. He argued that his girlfriend had already met Lily on a few occasions and saw no issue with her attending the party. Naturally, this turned into a heated argument with both of us standing our ground. I firmly stated that I didn't think it was fair to Lily to have a stranger present regardless of a few brief meetings. My ex-husband insisted that he had just as much right to be there as I did and accused me of being spiteful and controlling. The argument escalated and we ended up involving our respective families who took sides and added fuel to the fire. Some of my family members supported my decision, claiming that Lily's birthday should be about her and her closest loved ones. However, my ex-husband's family argued that he should be allowed to attend and that his girlfriend was an important part of his life. Therefore, she should be included. We couldn't reach a compromise, and in the end, my ex-husband threatened legal action if I didn't allow him to attend the party. This left me feeling torn between wanting to make Lily happy and not wanting to escalate the situation further. So, am I the asshole for excluding my ex-husband from our daughter's birthday party? Small edit. To answer a few questions, Lily has no opinion. Her only concern is having all of her friends there and making sure the flavor of her cake is up to her standards. As her father and I have 50-50 custody and the birthday party is during my time, I feel like I have a large say in this. Additionally, she has met the girlfriend twice. They haven't exchanged more than a few hellos and she would not be comfortable alone with her. Therefore, I do not feel that it's appropriate to invite her. My ex-husband is free to come, his girlfriend is not.
Am I wrong for initially not believing my son when he said he was sick? I'm a 48-year-old single mom to 2 kids. We'll call them Rachel and Vic. Rachel recently turned 18 and she has a lot of chronic health issues that she's been struggling with since she was little. We've been blessed that she has a lot of good periods, but right now she's having some trouble, likely due to the stress of next year's graduation and all that entails. Needless to say, I've been kept pretty busy making sure she stays as healthy as possible, and I think Vic has always resented the extra attention his sister receives, which is understandable. I've always tried my best to make sure he also has special time devoted to him too, but I'd be lying if I said Rachel's health hasn't taken precedence. About a month ago, we had the good news that Vic will likely be graduating early due to academic excellence. I was so happy and congratulated him, but I noticed that since then his behavior seemed to be worse. He was more moody, short with me, and not eating the meals that I made. Am I wrong for initially not believing my son when he said he was sick? He was acting super moody, being short with me, and not eating the meals I made. Last week, I took Rachel to the doctors over a sinus issue, and while we were there, Vic called. He called from school saying he was in a lot of pain and could I take him home early. I told him he knew I was at the doctor with Rachel, and he got all pissy and said some not so nice things about me favoring her. I'll admit I jumped to conclusion and figured he was just trying to get attention since his early graduation news hadn't given him enough. So I told him that because of his bad attitude, I wouldn't be picking him up at all. When I got home, everything seemed normal, but when I called the kids down for dinner, Vic did not come. And when I checked his room, I quickly realized he was genuinely sick. I immediately rushed him to the doctor and apologized profusely for not believing him. I tried explaining where I was coming from, but he said if I was Rachel, I wouldn't have made that assumption. And since then, he hasn't really talked to me. Am I wrong for telling my sister-in-law that she's freaking annoying? She did not say freaking, y'all, but we're just gonna leave it at that. So my sister-in-law's been staying with my husband and I for the past month after being evicted. She says they sold the building she was living in, and I have no reason to not believe her. She works nights and my husband and I work days, and we also have a son with ADHD. He's currently unmedicated because they haven't completely finished the evaluation. So my sister-in-law sleeps from 6 a.m. when she gets home until 2 to 4 p.m. That's around the time my husband and I pick up our son from daycare and get home from work. But my sister-in-law's the type that needs to make comments about everything. But it's not in the typical I'm trying to start a conversation sense. She just constantly repeats what she saw or heard. So every day she'll come downstairs and say something like, I just woke up and came down here and you are with Christopher and he's in a bad mood and I don't know why. Christopher is our son. Or I just went to make coffee and noticed there's no cups. Am I wrong for telling my sister-in-law that she's freaking annoying? She'll say things like, I went to make coffee and noticed there's no cups and I thought maybe I should do the dishes. Or my alarm went off so I came down and didn't know you'd be home already but you are. Or I was going to get leftovers because I just woke up but then I noticed you sitting here and you look angry so I wanted to be a good sister-in-law and sit with you first. And trust me, I know she could just be socially awkward, but these are the only things she ever says. Things she sees or hears and stuff I already know because I'm always in the same room. So for the past week when I've gotten home, I've asked her specifically to give me space. I've told her multiple times I don't want to talk and I want to be alone. Well, yesterday when I told her I wanted quiet time, her immediate reaction was, I just got up and came downstairs and you're in a bad mood and I don't know why and it's confusing me. I snapped at this moment because she refused to leave me alone and said maybe it's because I've asked you to leave me alone several times so I can have space alone, but she refused because you're freaking annoying. Am I wrong for mostly ignoring my girlfriend on her birthday? So yesterday we celebrated my male 23 girlfriend's 21st birthday. Her parents threw a big celebration with all her friends and family. For me personally, it was the first time I met anyone in the family with the exception of her parents. It was also her first birthday I celebrated with her because we've been dating for about 7 months. Now, I'm originally from Romania, from a region called Maramureş. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. I'm sorry, you guys. But I've been living abroad for 11 years now. My girlfriend mentioned at some point that one of her grandmothers was also from Romania, but we didn't discuss it in detail. So yesterday, I met my girlfriend's grandma, and what can I say? I couldn't believe how small the world was. Not only was she Romanian, but from the same country as me. So we talked and talked a lot, and she told me her life story. We reminisced about Baia Mare, and I really enjoyed the conversation. Am I wrong for mostly ignoring my girlfriend on her birthday? We reminisced about Baia Mare, and I really enjoyed the conversation, especially talking in my native language. And that's how I spent most of the party. Of course, when my girlfriend asked me to take photos with her, or when the cake came, I gave her my full attention, but for the most part, She spent time with her friends dancing and drinking while I was just talking with her grandmother. I didn't pay it much mind, but after the party, when it was done, she told me she felt neglected by me during her birthday. And this morning she seems pissed at me. Top comment says, nah, I would have thought she'd be excited you connect so well with her grandmother. Family approval makes relationships a lot easier. That being said, you probably could have done a better job at striking a balance between talking to her grandma and hanging out with her at her party. Another comment says 21 is a big birthday, so I can see her feeling neglected. Maybe you can make it up to her with a surprise night out and something special, but also she has to understand the connection.
I'm 23. When I was 15, my dad died. My mom, 45, didn't wait too long to start over and moved her new partner in just 2 months later. My dad left everything to me and not a dime to her. They weren't married. My dad's will was so structured that she couldn't even challenge it, and she attempted to even ask me to pass over one of my properties to her to show my new dad that he was welcomed. I couldn't even if I wanted to, because my dad's will was specified that I must be 21 to have access to everything he left me. This dude has kids, 18 male and 19 female. Their ages now, and my mom prioritized them to keep him happy. I mean, she wasn't like abusive or neglectful, but she tended to favor them. They went on trips, and even if she didn't tell me not to go, she'd say something between the lines of, "Wouldn't you like to go to your grandparents? My dad's better." I mean, I'm not stupid, and I know that she didn't want me there. When I turned 17, she asked me to leave my own house because I kept fighting with her dude, and I also reminded him of whose house it was. When he wanted to play the man of the house, I also called him John Conroy. My grandparents told me to avoid the confrontation, so I went to live with them. My mom would visit me often and tell me how much she loved me, but that she needed to keep the peace at home. After college, I decided to check my properties and also the one that my mom was living at. I wanted to renovate it to rent it out since it's a good one and could help me afford my master's. I went there to inform my mom, but no one was there. Later, I found out they went on vacations. I called her, but she didn't answer, so I proceeded to change the locks, mainly to officially take possession. They arrived yesterday and couldn't get in. Of course, they called me, but I wasn't even in town. I went today because some renovation works will start in a few weeks. I was in the backyard and my mom came in furious, yelling at me saying how dare I do that. So we talked and I let them know that they have 2 weeks to leave. Her husband, an unemployed, self-employed, was furious. My mom and her stepdaughter started crying because the girl is pregnant. I'm sorry, but I made up my mind. My mom's family is shaming me and calling me an a-hole. Am I the asshole for changing all the locks in my house without letting my mom know?